a bunch of extra boys and men, moms in the congregation today. And so today is all about honor. I think my brushy beard is going to brush up against that the whole morning. But today is all about honor and glorifying God. But also we want to recognize all the boys and the men for all the work that they've done over the course of this year. So as you know, we have Trail Life here at our church. We've been very blessed for the past, I think, 4 years now to have the Trail Life organization as part of our ministry. And of course, about a year ago, we had the blessing of being able to be an American Heritage Girls charter as well. So I pray that God just continues to keep his hands on both of those ministries. As you look around the room, you see all these kids from how old's 6 months to 18. I mean, that's the future of tomorrow. And so that's who we're investing in, is the future. So this morning, I hope that we can just, like I said, honor God and also give all the boys a pat in the back for all the work that they've done as well. So Trail Life, just a little quick story about Trail Life USA. It was an organization founded in 2013. Whenever it first started, there was about 400 chartered churches just right off the bat. And since then, it's grown to over 1,000. And I was actually looking on the internet yesterday, and there's almost 54,000 trail men being boys from 5 years of age to 18 across the country. That's 54,000 boys that's meeting on a consistent basis, learning about God, learning about the outdoors, just to try to break the mold and some of those chains that the world and the society puts on our youth today. So it's a great program. I've been blessed here at Hope Church to be able to work with a phenomenal group of men, including Mark, Johnny, Pastor Joe, but then all the other dads that come along, and they're not just sitting idly by. They're actually there participating with their boys. They're coming camping with their boys. They're enjoying the cold weather. They're watching Herschel get hurt, cut his finger, so on and so forth. But Travis is back there shaking his head. It's not a joke, it's the truth. But it truly is a blessing. So I put together some pictures from over this past year as a little slideshow just to kind of show what we've been up to in Trail Life. We're not photographers. Some of these pictures are Mark's, some are mine, some are the other dads. So I'm going to put this mic down just for a second because I can't multitask. Trail Life's key scripture is Colossians 1:10, and it says that you may walk worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing him, being fruitful in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of work. So that's our key idea, is walking worthy and walking in manner of God. So back in last September, so this is pretty much a September through current time retrospective view of Trail Life. So we went to Ark Encounter in September 2023. It was 2022, you're right. I was like, yeah, we did. I remember driving there. It was a long drive. In 2022, we're going to keep moving on. The picture on the right is us breaking camp. Not the best of picture, but it was pretty late whenever we got there that night. But we had a good time, though. Fast forward to October, Operation Christmas Child. The Trail Life troop put together 89 boxes. That's a bunch of boxes. Of course, every meeting that we have, it starts off with the boys reciting the oath and the motto, but then also we have a devotion. Sometimes it's the dads, sometimes it's Mark and I, sometimes it's one of the boys. We've been really challenging the boys this year to get in the Word of God and come up and lead a devotion with the group. It doesn't have to be this long 10-minute devotion, but just a key scripture, a key idea that's been weighing on them. So we've had many of the older boys come up and lead a session. More packing shoe boxes. We have a Christmas party every year. Of course, we had some good food and some good sugar cookies. We played some games. That's Sir Brady over there on the right-hand side. I think he's trying to drop a ball in that little bucket. I'm not for sure what he's doing there. But we have some fun, though. Some more parties. We have some good food. Thank you again to all the moms coming and help serve. Just get everybody having a good time. Our Trail Life youth officers for 2023. The first officer is Parker Fleeger. We'll share about him in a little bit more downstream here. The quartermaster's Luke Renaud, second officer Jonah Flieger, and then the chaplain's Braden Parker. Just a little snippet of some of the outdoor skills. The boys have been really working on latching and being able to put basic knots to test. Some of these pictures may look familiar. I think one of those is arrows. Who else's picture's up there? Nobody's? I know it's somebody's. There's Braden's and those boys. Having some fun. We usually have a little game at Trail Life. Billy and Ethan, they put together some sample flag pictures for us to be able to have a Trail Life flag. We're working on that today, but this is one of the examples that they put together for us, though. A bow drill fire. Sir Seth over there, he came and he successfully showed the boys how to make a fire with the bow drill. That's a challenging task if you've never had the opportunity to, but you can see it kind of coming to life here. Then, of course, we also pray together as a group of men, too. So that was back in April as we were having some outdoor fun time and just wrapping up the night in prayer. And then we had spring camp out in 2023. So all across America, there was a weekend, and it just happened to align with the same weekend that we went camping. But the goal was to have all the Trail Life troops camping together across the country. So we had spring camp out. We played some wiffle ball. In case you didn't notice, we ate some pretty good food. It wasn't too burnt. There's a group of men. There's some fire time, some more wiffle ball time, some horse playing. I'm not for sure who at the bottom of the stack there on the left-hand side. I think that might be Braden. Of course, all the men were getting involved, getting sore. I think I went backwards. Sorry. There we go. That's the group of boys that was at camp. We usually have some hobbies and some crafts that they can do there. So that they made some wooden coasters, and then Mark led a session making some rafts. Jonas back there, he took his time and did some rope working. They made, what was that you made, Jonas? A bottle holder with paracord. We had some worship. Jeffrey led the group with a song and his ukulele. That was a blessing. You see Brad in there and Seth again leading a devotion. And then recently we did orienteering. So this is some of the prep work that we did and learning how to use a compass. Kudos to Mike Flieger for leading the group and doing a lot of teaching with that. We would have been lost literally had he not done that. There's some more teaching the boys how to use it, how to use compasses, and orienteering at the state park then. Some pretty cool pictures, photo opportunities out in the middle of the woods. It's a group effort sometimes whenever you're lost. And then finally, I mentioned Parker Flieger. Congratulations to him. Mike's son and Micaiah and Jonah's brother Parker recently went into the Marines, and he's officially a Marine now, right? Yeah. So really cool story that he's had over the years. So congratulations to him. And with that, our motto is walk worthy, which relates back to Colossians 1:10. So as I mentioned, all the boys have been working really hard on some of their merits and some of their badges over this course of this year. Mark and Johnny, would you guys mind coming up maybe? So we would like to represent and acknowledge those boys. And honor those boys for the work that they've done. And I'll group my group first, just so Mark and Johnny can get these other guys organized. Sorry. Not sure what that. So I have a whole bunch of badges. This is what the boys are going to be getting whenever they first join Trail Life and they learn the motto, they learn the oath, they get this patch that actually goes on their sleeve. So all the boys have successfully accomplished that. They've memorized that and they've been able to demonstrate it. So I'm going to, as I call your name, we're going to do the younger group first. So Trail Life is broken up into two groups. There's ages 5 through 11 and then 12 through 18. So Mark and Johnny, they're typically in the group of the older boys, and then I'm with the younger group. The goal of the younger group is to go through a series of just learn how to do basic things and kind of set a foundation. Whenever they get older, then hopefully they picked up something that they can apply to the older group whenever they're actually working through the actual merits. So each of the boys will be getting one of these patches, and if you notice, it's a tree. There are 7 branches of the tree, and so each section that we go through represents a branch. So for example, one of them is outdoor skills, one of them is hobbies, one is Christian heritage, one is manners. So there's just a whole section that the boys go through. So we typically cover one area per night. It typically takes 2 to 4 sessions per branch. So the boys will be getting a badge. They'll either have anywhere between 2 and 4 pins that they've worked on since January 2023. So I'll call everybody's boy by their first name. If you don't mind coming up, just starting on that side, just make a line across the front here. And then I got a special task for you then after that, okay? So we're going to do Sir Charlie first. Come on up, buddy. Charlie, thank you. We'll go right over there and stand. Hey, Charlie, go right over there and stand, pal. We got Micaiah. And these are no particular order. Come on up, Micaiah. We got Brady. That one's yours. This is yours, Brady. A couple boys are not here. Braden. Come on up, buddy. We'll stand next to Jonah, or the Brady over there. I got Barrett. Yes, sir. We got Luca. Jeffrey. And Johnny. Oh, there's Vinny. I got Vinny, of course. No, Luca. Sorry, buddy. It's hard when you're on the spot to remember everybody's names. Scythe. Where's Scythe at? There he is. We'll stand here next to Luca. We'll stand right here. I got Camden. I got Samuel. Is your brother Samuel here, Luca? Yeah. Where's he at? There's Samuel. And I see Vinny back there. Come on up, Vinny. And I have something for Lance. Is he in here? Lance, come here, buddy. Come here, pal. Oh, he's back there in the back. So, with that being said, all these boys have accomplished 2 to 4 of the branches, and just very quickly, then we'll move on to the older group. At Trail Life this past week, I asked, what is one thing that you remember about the past 7 months? And each of you boys said something that you learned, or something that you learned about. So I would like you just to very briefly, I'll pass the microphone through and I'll walk through. Hey, buddy. There he is. So I'm just going to very briefly start on this side and just tell us one thing that you learned. We learned a lot.
Making fire.
Making fires? Yep.
Compasses.
Compasses.
How to make a raft.
Or make a raft. You got one?
Knife safety.
Knife safety. Remember the claw?
Talk about hobbies.
Hobbies, yep.
Talk about hobbies.
Yep. A new hobby.
Knife safety.
Knife safety.
Unarrest people that are stealing money.
What's that, buddy?
Stealing money. They unarrested them.
Gotcha. Good job.
Talking about honor.
Honor, yes.
How to build a fire.
Outdoors.
Outdoors.
Machines.
Machines, simple machines.
How to make a fire.
There you go. Good job. So we talked through quite a bit of things. I'm surprised they all didn't say knife safety. You learned how to use the claw when you're trying to cut an apple in half, and nobody got hurt other than me, so we're good. All right, guys. You gotta give them a round of applause. If you guys want to go have a seat, you can, okay? Thank you, boys. I'll pass the mic over to Mark here for a moment.
Jonathan and I are blessed to be able to help out with the older group. The Navigators are 11 to 13. The Adventurers are 14 to 18. As soon as you turn 18, you can start training to be a leader, and that's the track that Jonathan has been on for 3 years now. So anyway, I'm going to just have all the trailmen, Navigators, Adventurers, just come on up here now and line up. If you're a Navigator or Adventurer, just line up right here. Because part of this program is learning leadership and learning how to present yourself. And so I'm going to let these men introduce themselves and share at least one thing they've learned. And yeah, this is a little bit spontaneous, but that's the way life is, isn't it? So I'm going to start right here. State your name and what you like about trail life.
I'm Luke Renaud, and I just really enjoy hanging out with these really cool people, and we've learned about a lot of just skills in life and how to conduct ourselves.
I'm Brandon Parker, and probably the most thing I've learned about is orienteering.
My name is Jaron Parker, and I learned government stuff.
My name is Jonah Flager, and the part I most liked about trail life was learning how to orienteer and find our way through the woods from one spot to another.
My name is Ethan Plumley, and I learned how to tie lots of knots.
My name is Arrow Pusey, and I really like trail life because we get to spend time with friends and learn things, because there is sometimes a time when we'll really need to know those skills. So we learn those skills, and it's really fun to do.
My name is Uriah, and I've learned about rope work, and I thought that was cool.
My name is Josh, and what I like about trail life is how to be a man of God.
My name is Josh, and I like knots. Making knots in trail life, it was very fun.
My name is Silas. My name is Silas, and I enjoyed learning about Christian heritage.
My name is Gabriel Hasty, and we learned a lot about knots.
So you won't be surprised to hear that these gentlemen have each earned their rope work award. And Jonathan's going to present each one with their rope work badge. And just while they're doing that, it's not just learning how to do the slip knot and going on. It's these badges are daunting. You have to explain how being a good steward and observing the low impact camping method applies to rope work. They had to demonstrate whipping the ends of a natural fiber rope, fusing the ends of a synthetic rope. They had to learn and demonstrate the square knot, the bow knot, the two half hitches, the taut line hitch, the clove hitch, and the timber hitch. We learned lashings. They learned how to tie square, diagonal, shear, tripod, round, and floor lashings and describe their function. They learned to lash trestles, X trestles, A trestles, and H trestles. They made a useful structure for camp using at least 3 different types of lashings. So these badges are not gimmies. You don't show up for a couple meetings and say, "Where's my badge?" It's like a long process, and they deserve a round of applause. And with that in mind, they opted as a troop. We just had a discussion. Our next badge will be emergency preparedness, which is probably just as daunting. But as I think Jaron pointed out, we intersperse some things. We do some things that are related to other badges too. We've done a lot on the U.S. Constitution and U.S. history. We've gone through Hillsdale's Constitution 101 class as a troop. So as these young men do a couple of things, they also earn the badges and awards for what we do every week, which is pledge allegiance. We open in prayer, we say the pledge, we learn how to fold the flag. There's about 8 or 10 requirements to get the recruit trailman patch. And so each of these gentlemen also earn the recruit trailman patch. So that's something that can also go on their uniform eventually. Okay, take that back. Give me that back. I got it mixed up here. You keep that one. Whose is that one? Okay, if you're 11 to 13, step forward, 2 steps. These are the these are the navigators. They get the recruit patch. We have two groups in this group that I got to keep straight. So step back, you guys. 14 to 17-year-olds step forward. Their batch for doing the same type of thing with just up the next level is called the journey patch. These gentlemen earn the journey patch. And now you guys take one more step forward. And one more badge that these 14 to 17-year-olds earn related to their troop participation, and their leadership is also the journey badge. So these 6 gentlemen here this morning also get the journey badge.
We'd also like to recognize very briefly, then we're going to get into the Word of God a little bit here. We'd also like to recognize, well, actually, Pastor Joe. You know, it's a blessing. If you wouldn't mind coming up here for a moment. It's, as I mentioned before, it is such a blessing, and it's humbling to be able to have a pastor such as Pastor Joe. In Matthew 21, it talks about Christ as being the cornerstone of the church. But we also have a phenomenal pastor here that's very paramount to the church here, and we love him to death. We're going to slide over here because this makes noise. So this is kind of a fun, so don't get your hopes up too high. This is kind of a fun gift. I'm going to hand it to you.
It feels like a rock.
It might be a rock, I don't know. So anyways, we appreciate you, Pastor Joe. Just from Trail Life to you, thank you so much for everything you do. Like I said, keep your expectations pretty low. But go ahead and open it up, and I'll tell you the quick story.
I think it's a brick.
It might be a brick.
It is a rock. It's got my name on it.
So fun story.
Where'd you find that at?
We were on vacation, and we were walking along this beach, and I looked down, and here is this brick laying there, and I picked the brick up, and it said nothing more than Joe. I was like, oh, how fitting. So, thank you so much for everything. It's a good paperweight, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I never got a rock before in my
Yeah.
life.
Well, now you got one. So, thank you, Pastor Joe. Yeah.
We're just so honored to have Trail Life. You know, it's just such a blessing. It's because this is our future, and also American Heritage Girls now, just a blessing, tremendous blessing. So we're just so honored to have everybody that works hard in putting these ministries together.
And for that matter, I'd also like to have all the men and dads that come to Trail Life stand up for just a second. So if you're a dad and you got a son here, or if you are a man that comes and helps out with Trail Life, stand up. I want you guys to come up here now. I didn't tell you to come up, Billy, sorry. So maybe you boys can have a seat, just so we can clear the stage up for the men here. So, I mean, just speaking for myself, like these guys are paramount to Trail Life. As I mentioned, whenever they come to meetings, they're not just sitting by, and it's not just that they drop their boys off and they never participate. Like they're coming to the campouts. They are physically there working with the boys. They're helping out with their boys. They're spending that time with their sons. They're spending time with the boys in general. So thank you to each of you. I truly appreciate each of you. I can probably speak for the three of us that thank you guys so much for your time and for your ongoing efforts. But we wanted to recognize you too, though. So what I have is a little box of goodies. I'm going to give one to each one of them. Again, keep your tempers low, but it's just a little something to say thank you for everything. Any of you guys want to add anything since you're already up here?
Just want to echo, thank you so much, Mark and Herschel, for putting this together. I know my kids absolutely love this, and this is their thing. And it's like their life wants to revolve around trail life. We go out on the road and do the ministry, and like, but how many trail lives are we going to miss? Because they love you all so much. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Anybody else? It's an open mic.
Since everybody shared what they liked about trail life and the ministry, I'll just share what I like most. It's important for the young boys, but it is important for us as dads. Just to get out and be involved, raise our boys up to be men, godly men. It's just such an opportunity. We got examples that lead us into that. It's just phenomenal. Praise God that we have this opportunity at our home church.
Absolutely. Last call.
I'm proud to be a part of these men and these boys. I'm proud of all of them. I look out and I see them grow, and you can see them grow in Christ, and that's the fun part. It is. Whenever you see those things come through in them, and you see them step up, and you hear them talk about a godly value, and you realize that they get it, and that's so important. And it's just a pleasure to be a part of this group and the men that are trying to follow God. There's, especially these days, because you can't hardly go out in public and get people out of their tablets. You'll see 5 people sitting at a table at a restaurant, and every one of them would be a million miles away from each other on their own device. But we're getting these boys out here and showing them a little bit of trail life values and teaching them about God, and it's so important. But I'm just so blessed to be part of it. Thank you.
Pleasure here, Kirk. That's great. Thank you. Anybody else? No pressure? No? All right. Thank you guys so much for everything. I owe a couple guys some more jerky. Mike, would you stay up here just for one last moment, too? Everybody else, please have a seat if you don't mind. Thank you. So I'll tell a story about Mike. So I mentioned the orienteering event that we had. Like that, Mike spearheaded that entire thing. For what, a month and a half, he showed the boys time and time again how to use a map, how to check a bearing with the compass. And thank you for that. But the night before the event, he and I think Billy and a couple other guys, Mark, I don't know who else there was, Johnny, they were out till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock?
After 9.
After 9 o'clock, walking around a Hahn State Park in the dark.
Yeah, Mark and Billy and Jonathan, they traipsed through the woods in the dark. It was pitch black out. They only had flashlights.
You were enjoying it, weren't you?
I was nervous. I was concerned about y'all. I quit and just came back while I still had light, and then I was getting worried about them, and I thought we were going to get stuck in the park, that they'd close it off, but it all worked out. Praise the Lord.
I had something going on, so I was at home, and I got a text message. It's like, no, they're still in the woods. I look outside, and it's pitch black. I'm like, that's not good. So I prayed. That's what I did. It worked out to their benefit. But in all seriousness, thank you for everything. But we wanted to recognize you as well with a little something. So this is for you. I'll turn it over to Mark, too.
Yeah. Mike, you can stay here, Mike. Yeah. He thought he was off the hook, didn't he? No, I just echo everything that Herschel said. His Mike's involvement and the Flieger family's involvement in both Trail Life and American Heritage Girl is huge, and they're a great blessing to everybody. And yeah, also I was going to say before I give Mike a little memento here is we just had Bill Federer speak here a couple times, and you guys were here to hear Bill Federer. He spoke in Perryville too just a week or two ago. But Bill told me back in 2011, 2012, he was approached by the Christian leadership that left Boy Scouts to be part of the committee that established Trail Life. So Bill Federer is part of the process that we have Trail Life now. And he himself is an Eagle Scout, which is pretty daunting. But so in appreciation to Mike and his involvement and his leadership and his kindness, we want to give him a Bill Federer book called Prayers and Past Presidents.
Thank you very much.
And just one more thing here. I'm going to have Jonathan Mark come back up. So, yeah, Jonathan, him and I are related. And no, we're not twins. But yeah, Jonathan was part, and most of these boys here have been since the beginning. Jonathan joined as a 17-year-old, which means he was looking at 1 year till he turned 18 to be done with Trail Life. But he stuck in there wonderfully, and at 18 he began on a path of officially it's called a Guion. It's basically leadership training to step up and encourage the younger men and to take role in the troop that's critically needed. So raise your hand if you're 17 and younger and you appreciate Jonathan Mark's involvement in Trail Life. There you go, son. But anyway, I would just appreciate Jonathan. He's been just he'll lead a devotional, he'll teach a class, he'll help with the game outside, he'll just do whatever's needed, and he's been a great person to have involved. We want to give him an appreciation. Another book by Bill Federer, and I thought it was appropriate for Jonathan his age. It's called Endangered Species. So, and we're hoping to make this godly leadership of young men less endangered. But we need the encouragement of the churches and the Trail Life to do so. But I want to thank you.
Thanks, John. All right. So this morning is, as you haven't noticed, it's all about honoring people. So I had a message, and it was an hour and a half long, so I'm going to have to condense it down. Not really. It's meant to be a joke. So the Trailman's Oath is, on my honor, I'll do my best to serve God and my country, to respect authority, to be a good steward of creation, and to treat others as I want to be treated. So that is the oath. And so the first three words of that is on my honor. How many of you guys out there from time to time, you hear a word and you just kind of ponder, like, what does that word really mean? One of those words for me was intentional. Like, what does the word intentional look at? Sometimes words, they're a bit hard to define, like truly be able to define, but then to truly live it out, like that's a whole other story in many instances. So on this past Tuesday, we had Trail Life, and that was the younger group's lesson was about honor. So as we get into God's Word this morning for just a few minutes here, I'd like to focus on Colossians 1:10, which is so as to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing to Him, bearing every fruit in every good work, and increasing in the knowledge of God. There's a lot packed into that scripture. Some translations, the piece that talks about so to walk worthy in a manner worthy of God, it says then to the way you live will always honor and please the Lord. So those are some pretty big words to fill, some pretty big shoes to fill. So as we think about that, we're on this earth just for a very short period of time. I was at a funeral, and the pastor said, that, hey, we got this dash. I know we've probably heard that before, but the date you're born and the date that you pass away and go to heaven, that's just a little short time. And so to walk every single day, day after day after day, in a manner worthy of the Lord, like what does that look like? I'd suggest that's every thought out of your mouth, that's every word that comes out of your mouth. It's your actions, it's how you're spending your time. It's all the above. And I would also use the word strive. That's our call, is to strive. We're never going to truly reach perfection because we're just people. We're all flesh. But if we're constantly focusing our eyes on God, and that's where our help is coming from, that helps us to be able to walk this walk and truly walk in a manner worthy of God. So I want us to, my sermon outline, I kind of stole this from Travis from about a month ago, but he said, like, this is my sermon outline. These are the 4 key points that we're going to talk through. The first is, what truly is honor? Who should we honor? How should we honor? And above all, what does God truly want from us? So when you look around society today, it's pretty evident that the idea of honor and respect is taking a back seat. Would you agree? When you think about just looking at social media, walking in the grocery store, watching how some folks may behave out in the world, watch TV for 5 minutes. You're going to see it. But yet in movies, how many of you guys like a good movie? Yeah, in the movie, there's oftentimes this character, and he's demonstrating honor. And that stirs us whenever we watch those things. But yet, why is it, on the flip side of that, that the schools, again, walking in the grocery store, they don't seem to echo and represent those same common theme of giving honor and truly respecting authority, respecting your husband and wife, respecting kids, respecting your parents. Above all, respecting God. So why is it that we're so off kilter? And that's one of the key things that Trail Life brings back into focus, is the idea of learning outdoors stuff, as somebody said, but also chasing after God and focusing our efforts on chasing after God. So the words, yes, ma'am, no, sir. Have you guys heard that this week come out of anybody's mouth? I see a couple hands. There's another hand. So yes, ma'am, no, sir. Those are words that sometimes we've lost. How about, all right, this one's for you boys out there, for you youth specifically, learn it now. How about opening the door for a lady? She doesn't have to be your girlfriend, doesn't have to be your wife someday. Just open the door for somebody. See in a restaurant and see somebody else standing in line, putting somebody else first before you. It's easy and it costs nothing. But yet oftentimes people are so quick and so rushed just to get out there. Or maybe we just don't even think about, hey, I need to put somebody else before me. At a wedding, the bride and the groom, they're probably going to say something to the effect of, I give you this ring as a symbol of my vow, and all that I am and all that I have, I honor you. That word honor, like that's a commitment. That means that all the days of your life, you're going to show respect to that other person that you're being bound to, that you're being wed to. Society may tell us it's a little old-fashioned, but I'd suggest that it's not. That's not what the Word of God says. The Bible, again, tells us to honor God, honor our father and mother, honor the elderly, the rulers, church leaders. In this world, if we're not cautious, the world's going to teach our youth who they should honor. And nowhere's in that equation is God, which is very sad. It's a travesty. Thus, we as Christians, that's what our call here is to honor God. And American Heritage Girls or Trail Life teach our youth to honor God in all they do. So, what is honor? I Googled it. I Googled, what does the Webster's Dictionary say about honor? Well, to honor is to treat and regard someone with admiration or respect. It's the value and the quality of how we treat others. I'd suggest the true meaning, though, that we need to focus on as Christians, it's a reflection of God's character and His 10 Commandments. Those 10 Commandments that was back there in the Old Testament, you guys remember those? That's the true way that we should honor God, is upholding those 10 commandments. So for the purpose of this morning, just as an illustration, I know there's a little red wagon up on the screen with some milk jugs. It's going to make sense, I promise you, though. So as I was thinking about this morning of how can we try to illustrate the idea of honor, I thought, what better than a story, than a personal story? So when I was a little boy, probably 7 or 8 years old, how many of you guys in here are 7 or 8 years old, boys or girls? I see a few hands. Some of you guys are 10 years old. 14 years old. All right, I see some hands. How about 17 or 18? How about if you're an adult in a 17 and 8-year-old's body? My job as a little boy, 7 or 8 years old, was to haul water for our stinking chickens. My mom and dad had all these chickens in our house. I was an only child, but we had all these chickens. The problem was that where the chickens were way up the hillside, like 200 yards away from our house, away from any source of water, up in the edge of the woods. So my dad said, Herschel, your job is to make sure that there's 10 gallons of water up there every day for me, for the chickens. I was like, man, this is rough, this stinks. So every day when I go home from school, my task was to walk outside, walk up the hillside, grab those stinking milk jugs. I was mumbling all the way up there, carry them back down, fill them back up, carry them back up to the top of the hillside again. It didn't matter if it was 5 degrees, if it was 10 degrees, if there was a foot of snow on the ground, if it was 110 degrees. That was the expectation that my parents had for me. And as I think about this illustration here, I mumbled, I complained. I said, Mom, Dad, why do I got to do this for? But of course, being a witty 7 or 8-year-old, I'm thinking, how can I make this just a little bit easier for me? So I thought, well, I got this little red wagon that looks something like this. I can put 10 milk jugs in there, 5 milk jugs on either side, 10 jugs, bada bing, bada boom. So I go get my little red wagon, I'd tote them up the hillside. I'd walk back down the hillside, fill them up, go back up to the hillside every single day. Sometimes I would get up there and guess what? Half my water was gone. But as a 7-year-old, I didn't care. I did what they said I needed to do. And then once I got just a little bit older then, my parents said, we're going to do even better. We're going to monetize you for this. How many boys or girls get an allowance right now? Nobody gets an allowance in here for doing chores? You do X and you get Y? Well, back in the day, there's Ethan. He's got his hand up. But whenever my mom and dad said, Herschel, we're going to pay you $5 a month to take care of those. Whew, that was some big money, right? That's big money right now for 7 or 8-year-olds, $5 to go to the store and buy whatever you want. So they said, we'll give you money for doing this. So I said, well, this is even better. Ka-ching, ka-ching. That's what I thought. Then I still realized, you know what? I still got to do this hard work that I don't want to do. And I still got to do it because A, it's taking care of the chickens, and B, it's taking care of my parents. I didn't mention this, but both my parents were in very poor health. As a kid, I looked at this task that I had to do, and quite frankly, it stunk. Taking care of chickens figuratively stinks, and it physically stinks. But that was a task that I was charged with doing, though. And I didn't realize it at the time, but by doing that, that was helping my parents out so much. For them, that $5, that was a very small return on their investment. They gave me $5 and I do this. If I did it really well some months, my mom would say, you know, I'm going to go ahead and give you $10 this month. And by golly, that would get my tractor cranked, as Pastor Joe would say. Like, I would do an extra good job if I knew I was going to get that $10 in the month. So why do I use this story this morning when I'm talking about honor? I think there's multiple things in that little quick story that we can learn. I think there's many applications out there for the youth. One of the things we talked about at Trail Life was, how do you honor somebody? And that way to honor somebody is making eye contact with them, face to face. So throughout this morning, I would challenge you youth to make eye contact with me as we're speaking this morning. That's just a good way that I know that you're paying attention. I know that your head's out there not thinking about that beef roast that you're going to have for lunch, but you're truly paying attention this morning. So I encourage you youth to make eye contact. So sometimes life is like a rusty wagon. Sometimes you just need somebody to come alongside you and pick this little squeaky wagon up, which is all that stuff that we have going in our lives, and come alongside you and honor you and help you with it. So before we kind of get into this a little analogy for just a few minutes, I pose a question to you. Without complete honor to God, how can we truly honor others? Without completely, earnestly honoring God, how can we expect ourselves to honor other people if we can't honor God with our actions and what we do on a day-to-day basis? I want to suggest that it's a heart thing. It's where our heart lives on a day-to-day basis. Whenever I am pulling that wagon of water up to the top of the hill, how's my heart whenever I'm doing this? Am I doing this just because somebody said I had to? Or am I doing this because I truly want to help somebody out? I truly want to come to church and honor God with me and my time. So the first thing I think we can learn from this is we can honor God with your time. John 14:21, it says, "Whoever keeps my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me." Whoever keeps my commands. So with my time, am I honoring God? Am I keeping true to his commands? So kids, this is how we spend our time throughout the day, 24/7. This is how we interact with our family, our friends, our work, our church. In the Little Red Wagon story, I didn't always feel up to it, but my time, granted it was only just a few minutes, like that was the best thing I could give to my parents at the time was my time. It's about spending some time in God's Word and prayer, reading His Word. If you don't do it right now, make a habit of doing it. Try it out for a week. After that week, try it out for another week. After you try it for those 2 weeks, try it for a whole month. Start small and get big. But honor God with your time. Number 2 is our actions. Colossians 3:23, it says, "Work hard and cheerfully at whatever you do." At what? Whatever you do. As though you were working for the Lord. In the story again, carrying water jugs, that's kind of a nominal task. I mean, it's carrying a jug of water up a hill. But in the bigger scheme of things, doing the small things can honor somebody and it can honor God. You know, I came across this little post on Facebook, and I don't remember the whole post, but it was the idea, and it struck me because just recently we got our carpets cleaned. And I thought, how great is it that we have all these kids in American Heritage Girls and Trail Life to make the carpet dirty. Without people, your carpet's not getting dirty. So how much of a blessing it is. And now I'm not saying I want the carpet being dirty. I want a clean facility. But how great is it that we have all these youth and all these people, all these kids, our church congregation here day after day, on Wednesday nights for the food pantry, on Saturday mornings for a men's prayer breakfast, on a Saturday morning for the women's prayer breakfast. I can just go on down the list of all these ministries. But how great is it that we have all these people and their hearts and their souls that are being molded through the Word of God whenever they come here. Whenever they come here, they're not coming here just for the grins of it. They're coming here because they want to be fed. They want to be fed the Word of God. They want that experience of the Word of God. So, to that end, praise God that we got the kids in here to make the carpets dirty. No, I want clean carpets too, though, so don't dump anything on purpose. But also, as I go through the other ministries, Travis and Allegra, going out and doing their missionary work, thank you guys for going out and taking that leap of faith in doing that ministry. But everybody here, we all have a role in the church body. We're all not going to be missionaries. We're all not going to be a pastor. We're all not going to be a leader of a ministry. But it takes everybody working in together in conjunction that makes the body of God. So thank you for your time. Number 3 is what we say and our thoughts. That's how we can honor God. So it's not just those words that physically come out of our mouth, but it's those things that go through our mind whenever we're sitting by ourselves idly. Whenever we share words of doubt, unbelief, negativity, grumbling, we're dishonoring God. It's that stinking thinking. If you got that stinking thinking, be intentional and put your mind on God. Open up the Bible find a passage of scripture that's going to be uplifting for you. Replace that thought with a positive. All those gallons of water, I promised you, and I'm sure you boys and kids can relate, that I grumbled the whole doggone time. I'm not going to lie about it, I did. But those words, I shouldn't have said those words. Each day that I wake up, the same through each and every you guys here this morning, it's a blessing. Waking up to see my wife or my boys, it's a blessing. Coming to Trail Life on Tuesday and seeing all the boys, seeing them grow up, see all of you men, it's a blessing. Coming to Wednesday night church, it's a blessing. Going to work. Going to work's tough, isn't it? Waking up at 5:30 in the morning on Monday morning to go to work, it's a blessing. God gave you that opportunity and that privilege. So I would challenge you to look at it as a privilege that you get to do those things. There's many people out there that doesn't get to. But also the coarse, foul language that may come along with some of those emotions that you feel because of that. I once heard that a heart, I think I've heard this from Brad actually, it's like a bank. So every time we deposit God's word in there, we're depositing God in there. If we deposit the world, those other things that we have to do out there, we're depositing the world in there. So our thoughts, they're directly correlated with our heart. So ponder that just for a moment. Number 4, our intentions. That's where the heart meets the physical realm. What motivates you? My motivation for carrying those jugs, it wasn't to help. It was chasing after that $5 bill. That was my motivation. It's that carrot that's kind of dangling out there in front of me. So apply that idea to your life right now as you sit here. What's your intention for doing what you do? Are you doing it for the glory of God? Or are you doing it because I have to? Is this something else that I have to do? And I would challenge you to turn it over to God if you're feeling in that way. Turn it over to God and say, God, please help me feel more motivated to do whatever that is. Make this about you. Make my time, make my thoughts, make my words, make it about you. Not just about coming to do this because I have to do it. And you know, I also, as I was thinking through this and mapping this out, I also thought about materialism. I thought about clothes and shoes. Everybody likes to have nice clothes, nice shoes, a nice car, whatever. But those things don't define you. Mark 8:36. It says, what good is it for someone to gain the whole world but forfeit your soul? So I'm not saying don't have nice things. I'm just saying turn it over to God. And it costs $0 for you to turn over to God. It costs $0 for you to take some of your time. It costs $0 for you to change your mindset. It costs you nothing other than you and maybe some pride on the backside of that. And then number 5, Proverbs 3:9, honor the Lord with your wealth and the best of everything you produce. He will fill your barns with grain and our vats will overflow with the finest wine. I pondered this as I was getting that $5. I remember as a kid, I'd ask my mama for change. She's like, what do you want change for, Herschel? Well, I wanted change for 2 reasons. Once, I wanted 50 cents to put in the soda machine, because a $5 bill doesn't work that way. And number 2, I remember I used to take a little bit of that. Now, it was a 10%, I don't know, it was probably a quarter. But I took a little bit of that, and I would bring it to Sunday school, and I would deposit it in the offering plate. My mom would usually give me another $1, so in my pocket I'd have $1.25, and that was my deposit back to the Word of God. That was my deposit to the bank. And as I was pondering the idea of the milk jugs, it's not just meant to give God whatever's left over after you've done everything else that you want with it. It's give Him some of the first fruits. Those dollars in your pocket, those are a blessing that God's given you. So youth, I asked the question earlier, how many of you guys have a job that you get paid for? There's a few hands here. So if you get paid for a job, I challenge you to get in the Scripture. If you don't believe me, get in the Scripture and read for yourself what God's Word says about giving and giving a little something back to the body of God. It's going to be a blessing for you. I promise you it will. Start a new habit today, maybe. You guys remember the lady at the well? What did she have? She didn't have much. She just had a few pennies. So if you youth are saying, man, I only get $2 for emptying the dishwasher, a few pennies goes a long way in God, with God. So those are the 5 things I would challenge how we can honor God. And we're getting pretty close to our time here, actually going over a little bit, but we're going to spend about 5 more minutes here. So who else should we honor? 1 Peter 2:17, it shows show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers, fear God, honor the emperor. Exodus 20:12, it says, youth, honor your father and mother. You know, sometimes, especially if we have an adult, if we've been wronged some way by a parent, it's hard to honor those people. But I challenge you to turn it over to God. Pray for the situation. Honor those who are older. Honor our elders. Leviticus 19:32, it says, rise up in the presence of the aged, show respect for the elderly, and revere your God. I am the Lord. This is a very black and white thing. The idea of opening up a door or respecting those elderly. If you see a need, I challenge you to go meet it. If you see somebody that needs their leaves raked, or, I don't know, scraping some snow off their driveway, whatever, go meet that need for them and help them. That's what we're called to do. Honor your boss. 1 Peter 2:18. It says, servants, be submissive to your masters, not only good and gentle, but also the harsh. That also applies to government officials. When you look at our government, they're not the most godly. But what can we do? We got some rights. We can vote. We can verbalize our opinion. We can turn them over to God. We can say, God, I want you to put your hand over our government. I want you to help them make good decisions. There's all sorts of issues out there, from racism to abortion, you name it. Turn it over to God. Pray for those individuals. In Romans 13, verses 1 through 2, it says, let every soul be subject to governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. And then the final thing I would share with you guys this morning is, husbands and wives, here's the hook for you. Honor your spouse. 1 Peter 3:7, it says, husbands, give honor to the wife. Ephesians 5:33, let the wife see that she respects her husband. Don't belittle and criticize. Honor doesn't tear down, but rather it builds up. So if you're not being helpful, I suggest you to turn over to God and rethink your approach. If you guys want a really good scripture just to sink your teeth in maybe this afternoon, is Colossians 3, verses 18 through 25. It's rules for Christian households. I challenge you guys to read that 3 times. There's something in it for husbands and wives, for kids. Something in it if you're going to work. There's a lot to be taken from that scripture. And then going back to that oath that Trail Life recites every time, just in kind of wrapping up here, it talks about honoring creation. Mark alluded to that, the idea of if we go camping, not leaving a bunch of garbage out. Last Tuesday, I used the example with the boys if they like going fishing. And are you going to fish and just catch all these fish just to chuck them up on the bank and let the flies have at them? If you're going to be doing that, is that honoring just to be wasteful? No, it's not honoring God and honoring creation. So Genesis 1:28, it says, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and then subdue it. And it says, here's the hook here for blessing creation, or honoring creation. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. There's a lot of beauty out there that we take for granted. Whenever you walk out these doors, I challenge you to pick up a piece of trash. If you're out walking in the woods and you see garbage laying around, pick it up. Be a good steward of what God's given us, everything that's around us. But above all, that was one of the 5 points that I had early on. What does God want from us above everything? He wants you. So if you guys are here this morning, I'm going to ask Mark to come up here as well. But if you guys are here this morning, anybody, and you don't have the relationship with Christ, it could happen for you this morning. You could have that sinner's prayer, truly from your heart, and you can invite God into your heart today, and you can walk out of here a new person. It's burying the old and walking out of here truly as a new individual. Furthermore, if you got something in your life that you would just like prayer for, I would ask for you to approach Mark, Pastor Joe, any of the men, Guy back there in the back, any of the men. We're more than willing to pray for you and with you. I might ask if Travis might come up and play something just softly. And after that song is over, during that song, I just want you to bow your heads, close your eyes in prayer. Spend a few minutes just you and God. As part of every Family Sunday, we also have communion here. If you'd like to participate with communion here shortly, we will go through that as well. But we're just going to do one song here, and I'll ask Travis to keep playing something softly in the background. Spend a couple minutes in prayer.